This is Andrew with Innovative Martial Arts, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about carbs. Alright, so today we're talking about carbs, or carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates are one of your three main nutrients. You got fats, proteins, carbohydrates. Pretty much everything you eat, the majority of it is made up of those three main nutrients. Carbohydrates are based on carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. That's where they get their name from. And for all realistic, or for simplification, you can just think of a carbohydrate as plant-based food. Proteins are animal-based food. And it's a little bit of a simplification, but for most things it works. So carbs are plants. Now, carbs get a bit of a bad reputation. A lot of the current diets claim to be low carbs, and people are thinking carbs aren't really that good for you. But really, it's just like fats. There's certain types of carbs that are no good for you, and carbs are really important to your diet. So the problem with carbs is not the ones that we get naturally, like fruits and vegetables and intact grains. Those are all important for your diet. The problem is refined carbs or simple carbs, things like sugars and corn syrup and things that are used for sweeteners, or heavily processed foods like white bread and white rice. Those end up with a little higher on what's called the glycemic index, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. And those are what causes you problems. Now, what happens when you eat is your body absorbs the food, and in the case of carbs, they're the fastest absorbed nutrient that you get. So your body's going to absorb them, and it's going to put them into your bloodstream as blood sugar. Now, if your blood sugar gets too high, the body's going to turn on insulin to try and protect itself, because having your blood sugar too high is not very good for you. So your body's going to release insulin to lower your blood sugar levels. What it does is it's going to take the excess blood sugar and it's going to store it in the muscles as fat. Now, that's not what you want. So your blood sugar goes up high, body releases insulin, and it's going to bring it back down, which is what you want it to do. The problem is if you absorb too much highly refined carbs, it's going to overshoot. It's going to absorb, it's going to go up, and it's going to come crashing down back below where it started. So your body's going to convert it into fat, and then your blood sugar is going to end up lower than it was when you started, so you're going to be hungry again. Now, your body does need carbs. Carbs are your main source of fuel, for keeping your energy levels up and doing things you need to. And if you're eating it in natural form, things that are low on the glycemic index, your body's going to absorb it at a reasonable rate, and it's going to give you energy for a few hours. It's going to stay with you. When you eat something that's heavily refined, your body's, millions of years of evolution haven't taught our bodies to deal with that properly. So your body ends up processing it a lot faster than it should, which is what brings your blood sugar up way up higher than it should be. And then insulin response crashes it back down. You gain body fat and end up still hungry, so you end up eating more. And this is part of why diabetes has become so prevalent, is we've been eating a lot more processed food as a society. Now, the glycemic index is something that tries to measure how fast your body is going to absorb those sugars. It's not perfect. It looks at things in isolation as opposed to your entire meal as a whole. And different people are going to process things different, and insulin's going to respond differently in different people. But it gives you a good starting point. And there's going to be a link down below to some resources on glycemic index and what that means. But generally, things that are high on the glycemic index, your body's going to absorb them really, really fast, and that's going to cause your insulin to spike, crash it back down, leave you still hungry, and with a lot of that excess sugar turned into fat. So a simple thing you can do if you're trying to look at your diet is to try and take things that you're eating that are high on the glycemic index and replace them with things that are a little bit lower on the glycemic index. So taking something like instant rice, which is incredibly high on the glycemic index, and replacing it with whole long grain brown rice is going to make a big difference in how your body processes it. Same thing with bread. Taking a white bread, is up high, and enriched bread's a little bit lower, but a whole grain or a multi-grain bread is going to end up a lot lower on that glycemic index. Is going to leave you feeling fuller for longer, and it's not going to cause the same sort of problems with spiking your blood sugar levels. Okay, last thing I want to talk about when it comes to carbs is something called fibers. Now, fibers are a carbohydrate that your body doesn't actually break down, but it does slow down the rate that your body breaks down other carbohydrates. And if you're looking at processed food, it's often what gets stripped out. So if you're looking at white flour versus whole grain flour, white flour is not going to have the same amount of fiber as whole grain will. If you're getting too little fiber, it increases the rate that your body's going to break that stuff down, store it as blood sugar, and then convert it into fat. Diets low in fiber are also going to cause problems with constipation and hemorrhoids and all sorts of things. So a simple check if you're not really sure what's in a food is if it's got lots of carbohydrates but no fiber, you probably shouldn't be eating it. Okay? You want to have things that have fiber in them as well. For example, that's what happens with juices. Okay, so if you're eating an apple whole, you're getting all the fiber, all the nutrients, everything out of it. But if you take just the apple juice, you're removing all the fiber. So it's going to go a little bit higher on that glycemic index, and you're going to lose that fiber, which is really important for your diet. Okay, so in closing, carbs are good. They are your body's main source of energy. But what's not good is refined carbs, things that get really high up on that glycemic index and cause your blood sugar to spike. Insulin brings it crashing back down. That's what makes people gain weight faster than anything else and causes problems leading to diabetes and heart issues and all sorts of things like that. So we still want carbs. We want to try and eat carbs that are a little more natural, not refined carbs. Hey, thanks for watching. It's a little bit of a simplification, but that's what we're going for. I want to try and keep it nice and simple so that you can not have to try and overthink things. You never want to look at things in too much detail and try and get too picky about things. Still want to enjoy your food and have fun, but just try and make sure that what you're eating is as close to being natural as possible, and try and avoid those things that are really high up on that glycemic index when you can. Sometimes just replace them with things that are a little bit lower, but still have the same kind of taste and texture and can be put in your food just as easily. Please make sure you click subscribe. We'll be putting up a lot more videos, and hope you enjoyed.